I have Ifeoma Onyejekwe, a fixed income trader at UBA, to get a sense of what's playing out in the markets this week. Thank you so much for your time, Ifeoma. And let's just run through how we've seen the market play out.
Thank you, Kenneth, for having me. So this week was one of the weeks where very, very little happened in the markets. There was no OMO maturity, there was no OMO auction, there was no NTB maturity, there was no NTB auction. And system liquidity being quite low, we saw the CBN not even carrying out their regular CRR debit. So yes, this week was truly a very quiet market. The only investment channels we saw happening this week was commercial papers. We saw Dangote release some commercial papers. So we saw many investors go into that. And for the bond space, we did not also see a lot of trading activities. There was little activity, especially on the 2026 bond, but yields largely remained unchanged in the bond space. We also saw a rush of activity on the special bills. Trader expectation is for yields to rise in Q2, going into Q2 and also into Q3. So we saw some sell-offs on the longer end of the Treasury bills yield curve, and they sold off those bills to reinvest in the shorter tenor bills, especially the CBN special bills. But like you said, next week, yes, we're expecting OMO maturities of 50 billion, so there will also be a likely OMO auction. We also expect Treasury bills maturities of 141.26 billion, and then we'll have a Treasury bills auction on Wednesday.
All right, but beyond how you see the market play out next week, looking at how the second quarter is posturing, how would you compare how would you compare it with the first quarter?
Less in the activity, to be honest. Maturities, like the inflow of liquidity into the market, has been much less than the first quarter, and we expect that to also decrease going into the year.
Okay, but looking at yields though, going in the near term for next week, what can we expect?
An uptick in yields. We expect slower offer in both the Treasury bills, in the OMO and the NTB bills. So we expect subscription to be higher and then a likely uptick in yields.
Okay, and you also expect liquidity to be higher next week. We're seeing the play out from the OMO
yes.
and T-bills maturity. Yeah.
Yes,
but
yes,
for
yes,
the Naira, though, what is your outlook?
It's been really stable. Rate in the INE market has been hovering around 415 and 416, and that it has been that for several weeks. So it's been pretty stable in that space.
Okay, and for the reserves?
For the reserves, we see oil prices inch up a little higher, so we expect Nigeria to benefit from that. So we also expect like an increase in our reserves in coming months.
All right, but I'd like you to speak on how we're seeing corporates tap into the debt capital markets. We've seen the 300 billion from the Dangote Cement Series 2. We're also seeing Presco just concluded one of their bond issuance as well, and MTN with their twin series commercial papers. What do you think the sentiment is for investors coming into the markets?
It's been very fantastic. It's been really high. Like I said, commercial papers, they have been the most liquid investment in instruments currently. So investors have been, and then those companies, they are also rated very highly. So we've seen a lot of interest and very high subscription in those instruments.
But for you though, what are you looking forward to next week? That key activity for next week for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to improvements in liquidity, because you know that nothing runs without liquidity. This week has been very, very dry. So we're receiving maturities next week. So that would help, in funding different obligations. So I'm looking forward to the inflow of maturities.